James, a lot of developments in the off-season, both internally and externally.
Yeah, absolutely. I think people often think that the off-season we all go on holiday, everyone puts their feet up, waits for the first game of the season, but nothing could be further from the truth. I think it's been a very intense, a very productive off-season. Naturally on the field, the players have been working very hard in the gym and on the field getting ready for the new year, and I think the new signings have really hit the ground running and they've done exactly what Dennis and I intended for them to do. They've brought a level of intensity and a level of professionalism that's raised the overall competition for places within the squad, and the likes of Danny Tickle and Danny Galea are seasoned veterans of the sport, and they're really laying down markers in the squad in terms of professionalism and what's needed to be done. Obviously Liam Carberry's come in, great insight to what he can do for us. Unfortunate to get his injury, but looking forward to getting him back out there. Paul Johnson, another great pro that's come in and added competition in that front row. Rodri Lloyd joining us from Wigan, and now recently Paul Clough as well. So delighted with the level of competition for places and what Dennis is building with his performance team.
Yeah.
I think off the field, the administration team have worked very hard as well, getting things lined up for the year and obviously generating the revenue streams that have allowed us to increase the investment in the playing squad that we're all seeing as we roll into this new season.
Absolutely, and also the stronghold. You've got to be really positive with the numbers which came into London, James.
Absolutely, I think it was a great crowd. You know, no disrespect to London, there was probably 20 or so London supporters in the ground. So over 5,300 Widnes fans was fantastic. Obviously, we had a big initiative within that attendance as well in terms of encouraging stronghold holders to bring a friend. And I would like to think that anybody that came along as part of that initiative enjoyed the day, enjoyed the entertainment, enjoyed the atmosphere, and will be looking to bring a revisit back to the game on Friday night against Huddersfield.
And I believe there's a new college course on the horizon.
Yeah, I think the college course started the back end of last year, and it really has bolted into our long-term objective that is obvious to all our fans, that we want to develop our own players. We want to develop players through our own systems because A, they understand what we're about, and B, the culture of what we're trying to do, but also importantly, the fans always like to see people from their own hometown pulling on the shirt of their own club. Yeah. And the college course has two strands to it. Obviously, it gives us more contact time with the young men that are on it. So instead of having a couple of nights a week, we can work with them every morning in the gym. We can work with them every afternoon out on the field. But we're also giving them an education as well. And I think it's a unique environment to be able to study, pick up A-level equivalent qualifications in a sporting stadium such as this. It's an unbelievable opportunity for the players involved because not only are they working with the teachers and with the coaches, they also get to rub shoulders with the likes of Hep Cahill, who's in weekly wrestling with them, John Clark coming in early mornings and supporting them in their conditioning. So to have that interaction with senior players whilst getting an education, I think is really exciting for the future. And you know, we saw the first fruits of that hard work with a good win over London for the academy on the weekend.
Absolutely, and also kind of there's a huge TV deal which a lot of people have been talking about. How does it work for Widnes?
I think it's a huge shot in the arm for the sport. I think just taking a step back, what led into that TV deal there's been a lot of debate about the restructuring within the sport, and I think everybody knows from listening to myself or any of our board members and Dennis that we've always been big supporters of the licensing concept. I think Widnes is a classic example of how it can work. You know, we invested aggressively into our facilities that we've got here today, into our youth structures, into our community programs, but it was apparent that there wasn't an appetite for that anymore within the sport. And I think you can either dig your heels in, put your head in the sand and constantly bang a drum and say we want licensing or nothing else, but there was a real danger that there's something else could be a straight relegation and promotion, which simply doesn't work. You end up with yo-yoing teams that, you know, come up, go straight back down. So the discussions evolved, and the 12s into 8s concept became apparent as a viable option. And actually, we're really excited by that now. I think it's important that the whole game has a solution. I think this gives a whole game solution. It gives an opportunity for clubs to progress into Super League. And also, I think it's important that we keep the concept of every minute matters alive. I think it's important that if you're mathematically no longer able to get into the top 8, that the season isn't in effect over, that there's still plenty to play for. So there'll always be critics of every bit of change that we do, but I think it's an exciting concept. And one of the biggest pluses, as you rightly say, is it gave the governing body the opportunity to go to Sky with something new, something fresh. And actually Sky could have turned around and said there's still several years left on the current broadcasting agreement, we'll talk in a while.
Yeah.
But to their credit, as big supporters of the game, and to the governing body's credit, a new deal was orchestrated and a significant long-term extension to the existing arrangement.
Yeah.
Has to be a fantastic
Absolutely.
shot in the arm for the sport, because ultimately the biggest challenge that everybody's got, we're no different, is to build a sustainable club, a club that can be here for many generations to come. We've got a proud history dating back to 1875, and millions of people have been involved with the club over that time. There's millions of memories, millions of great highs and lows through that time. You have to put a plan in place that's going to allow the club to be here in the long term. And I think providing everybody is sensible and that they use the security of the long-term deal wisely, there's no reason why this can't underpin the long-term survival and indeed growth of our sport.
Yeah, absolutely. And bringing things back to kind of the Select Security Stadium here at Widnes, 2 massive games in consecutive weeks, Huddersfield on Friday, then the thriller on Thursday with Salford. Huge for the club.
Absolutely, and these are the games that you want to be involved with. Last week was a great start to the season, but obviously no disrespect to London, they've had a very disjointed off-season, and we wish them the best of luck trying to get themselves back on the feet. Huddersfield are a different challenge. They set the pace last season and they finished top of the league, and they're a quality outfit, so it's a real test for us, but a test that I'm looking forward to. I know Dennis and the players are looking forward to. As you rightly say, hot on the heels of that, we have Salford. A lot of publicity around them, a lot of new faces, and I'm hoping that they come in good numbers and bring a good number of fans here to create an atmosphere, because as our first game live on Sky Sports, it's a great opportunity for us to showcase to the world of rugby league what a fantastic atmosphere our supporters create in the stadium. And I'm really hopeful that we get 2 great crowds, 2 great atmospheres, and ideally 2 wins.
Brilliant stuff. And if you can now talk about the commercial strengths at Widnes Vikings, we've made some really big gains in the off-season, haven't we? People like Runcorn Shopping Centre coming on board. We've got the announcement with Liverpool John Moores University, which we've released this week. It's all good for the club, isn't it?
It's exciting. I think the challenge that we've got in the short to medium term is that we need to drive the revenues back into the club. The immediate knock-on benefit of that is to facilitate our objective of spending at the salary cap maximum. As all our supporters and stakeholders will recognise, until we get to that point, we're not on a genuine level playing field. That's not a whinge or a moan, it's just a statement of fact that we can't really be held to task against your Warringtons and your St Helens of this world until we're on that level playing field. Now, that's not been disrespectful to where we are, and credit to our players. Some fantastic wins last year, the double over Warrington, the victory over St Helens, a cracking victory over Hull here. We are moving forward and making great progress, but I want us to be deep enough in our squad and robust enough to be on that level playing field. How do we get to that point? 2 key strands really. One is the commercial support of our partners. The other strand is the support of our supporters on the terraces. If we can grow both of those, then there's no reason why we can't be at that cap maximum in the very near future. And as you rightly say, last year was very exciting, starting with building a new board structure around Steve, who very kindly agreed to sell some of his shares and reinvest that money back into the club. And now we sit in a position with a new structure, and Brian O'Connor on board, and Roddy Sned and Matt Beach and myself all having a stake in the club, which is a great endorsement to everybody connected that these independently successful businessmen have decided they want to invest in the club. Below that, we've got new supporters coming in, like the Runcorn Shopping Centre, as you say, like Van Ruins last year, all new companies coming back to be associated with the club, investing in what we're doing because they believe in the vision. So very exciting time, but we're not resting on our laurels. There's a huge amount of potential for us to build more partnerships both in the public and private sector, and hopefully to drive the attendances out here and get them up to that sort of 7,000 mark, which is where I believe we need to be to really kick on and challenge at the top of the sport.
And I think now it's only right that we talk about community, because that's a big strand at Widnes Vikings, and last week we brought in Huddersfield as a partnership school to the club. That's really good news for everybody, isn't it?
It is, and that's something that I will never tire of talking about, that my passion personally, and I believe shared by everybody within the club, is that we are much more than just an entertainment vehicle that performs out on a rugby field every couple of weeks. I see us as being in the heart of the community, and that we use sport as an engagement vehicle to hopefully improve health, to raise aspiration levels, and to drive education levels as well. We're not professing that we'd be so arrogant as to say that we can replace teachers or the health professionals of this region, far from it.
Yeah.
But we'd like to think we can support them, and using our players as role models, we can get out into the wider community. And people sometimes say, well, cynically, well, what's the benefit of doing that? Well, the benefit is twofold. One, we deliver some positive change in the community.
Yeah.
And if that's the only benefit, then that's a fantastic place to be. The second strand is hopefully that we develop that emotional attachment with the young people and the parents of this region to such a level that they want to come back and sample what we're about,
Yeah.
and they want to be a part of our crowds.
Yeah.
So we have to develop their trust, and we have to develop that relationship by
Yeah.
doing quality work first,
Yeah.
and hopefully they'll come back. And the further benefit to that is I believe that there isn't a business in this region that wouldn't be interested in being a part of a programme that hopefully will improve the health education aspiration of the people, where ultimately these businesses have the staff, have the clients, and we aim to put their brands alongside the great work we're doing, whether it's cyberbullying, whether it's working with the partner schools, as you mentioned, both in Widnes and in Runcorn. We believe that we can really set the standards within the sport of what a community-focused club is and does.
And finally, let's talk about the one club philosophy, because you brought it on board. Just tell Vikings TV, James, if you will, a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I think probably a lot of our supporters saw the story on the website, saw the image that we took, and my philosophy is simple, that every single stakeholder within the club is making a difference to make Widnes Vikings stronger. Whether that's our lottery collectors that go knocking on doors asking people to be part of the dream ticket, whether it's our volunteers that come in and support us on the ticket windows on a match day, whether it's the volunteers that are around our development squads and our scholarship programme, whether it's the young players who are part of the development squad or the scholarship, through to what people traditionally recognise as a sporting club, the first team, coaching department and players. And of course the fans. You know, everybody has a role to play in making us stronger. And I believe that the one club encapsulates that perfectly. We're all one club, we're all pulling in the same direction, we all have an aspiration to make the Vikings stronger. So we thought it would be a nice touch to recognise that, and to bring all those stakeholders in for a photograph here in the North Stand in the off season, and have representatives from Vikings Voice representing the fans and all those other stakeholders we've talked about. And you know, actions speak louder than words. Having that image hung with pride in the stadium is a visual, you know, validation really of that philosophy. And we're looking to have that image hanging proudly in the tunnel. So every time any player runs out to take the field here at the stadium, whether it's first grade, academy, scholarship, development squad, they see themselves on that, and they recognise that they're creating a piece of history. And also, when opposition clubs come here, I want them to see that, and see that we're a very united group, that we're very united in what we're trying to achieve, and that you're coming up against a formidable opposition, not just on the field, but off the field, as one club and Widnes Vikings.